Yeah, I'll ask them to come up at the Q&A session.
Sure, I can just give them a heads up that I don't have to get them settled, is that okay?
Here you go, Ted. Okay, it's 1 o'clock, so I'll make a start, and welcome also to everybody who's online. This is being streamed. I'm Professor Jeddy Dewsbury, Head of School of Science. I'm actually a human geographer, but that's what makes the School of Science at UNSW really interesting, because we have 6 disciplines in one school, which allows us to do a real diverse interdisciplinary education piece. So what I'm going to do today, after I give an acknowledgement to country, is to talk through these 4 sections. But first off, UNSW Canberra acknowledges the Ngunnawal people as the traditional custodians of the lands on which this campus is located. For tens of thousands of years, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people managed the land sustainably, using practices adapted to its unique climate, geography, and ecology. We honour their unique relationships with the land and their rich contribution to society. One of the things I'll come on to in a minute is this part of the school vision is around striving to be global leaders in science for equity, diversity and inclusion, fostering science skills for all, and having courses which teach and acknowledge Indigenous science and Indigenous scientists, alongside the real push to make sure that gender is also represented strongly in the School of Science. It's fundamental, because if we don't open up that space for this, unique top 20 in the world university space, for all those different opportunities, expertise to all people, we're going to be missing so much talent and wasting so much knowledge. So it's something we take, as I say, and I'll come on to that later, as an extremely important bedrock for what we do here at UNSW Canberra in the School of Science. The talk then is in 4 parts, and first off I'll talk about UNSW Canberra, the particular uniqueness of this campus, its relationship to UNSW, then dive into the school and talk a bit more about the school vision, what we do, and again about its uniqueness. And then I'll dive into the offerings very quickly, so you can see the different majors we offer with the 6 disciplines we have in science. And then I'll talk very briefly again about entry requirements. And then we'll open it up to Q&A, and so we've got 4 officer cadets here who will come forward and they can answer some of your questions, certainly probably better than I can, but we'll choreograph that at the end and introduce them then. So first off, about UNSW Canberra and how we fit in here. UNSW Canberra works, and it's very unique in this, working at the intersection of a leading university and military academy. UNSW then has been educating defence leaders in Canberra for more than half a century. Graduates from UNSW Canberra at ADFA shape Australia, the region, the international community as leaders in defence, government and industry. It is actually a real privilege to be working in this space. We do have a fantastic number of alumni who have done precisely that. They've gone forward from their time here and been international leaders across those sectors. UNSW Canberra is also unique in having that position as a national academic institution being so tightly integrated with defence. I mean, you can see now that linkage between needing to be at the cutting edge of technology and research, making sure that there's sovereign capacity with education, with knowledge. And again, we'll see as some of the questions might come out, this is about, an open education for the officer cadets for this 3 years. They're not prescribed to do certain things for the forces. It's about inculcating real skills that UNSW can offer in this space alongside ADFA. That means that, alongside this, we also here at UNSW Canberra have graduates, almost twice as many, in fact, postgraduates compared to the undergraduate students. That enables the students here to be part of that community. And it also, I think, reflects the growth and strength that we have here as an excellent full-service university campus. Being part of UNSW is also key. I mean, UNSW is now ranked top 20 in the world. It's obviously part of the GO8. It also means that we link up with research, with opportunities for students. We have training activities, certainly in science, that the students avail themselves of from Sydney, the Sydney campus in Kensington. You're part of then 64,000 students. And of course, there's that larger number of UNSW alumni and all the networks that they have. UNSW is so high in the global rankings precisely because of those international networks. You are therefore part of these 4 campuses across Sydney and Canberra. And again, I've already mentioned that we have that unique relationship with defence, which is fundamental and really important. It also leaks out, as I said, not just to those future careers and leadership, but actually in current industry links and innovation. But further, I think you are getting that top-level academic in the classroom review at the best teacher-to-student ratio. You will not find this anywhere else. That means that it is a real opportunity for us in 2 ways in science. We have that interdisciplinarity, so you're working alongside disciplines in much closer lockstep, but also then we are driven to be research-led because we're part of UNSW. So you have that research-led, high-quality education and in the best student-teacher ratio. Elsewhere, I mean, schools of let's say, physics will have, classes or cohorts of 1,000. We only have 70, and yet you're getting the same standard of education. Further here at UNSW Canberra, we've obviously been working with Defence and UNSW to make sure that we do have purpose-built workshops and high-level facilities. In fact, those in chemistry will be hopefully enjoying the inauguration this year of 6 new chemistry labs. Likewise, we're expanding some of that space in and around chemistry. Also, the physics labs are recently refurbished only about 5-6 years ago. So again, very good teacher-student ratios in very good facilities. What about the School of Science then, diving in? Science, as we all know, is the foundation of most human knowledge, and indeed all the machinery and technology that shapes society. So from chemistry and biomedicine to the maths in big data analysis, from geography of the increasing evidence of extreme climates and the challenges that brings, to the physics of our galaxy. Further, science is, of course, fundamental to defence, across the whole areas of technology creation, computers, aircraft, ships, weapons, and explosives, code making and code breaking. Because we have these 6 disciplines in one school, and because you're being taught by research leaders in these areas, you are getting that unique opportunity to see how those disciplines and those expertise interrelate. And if we are to address the challenges, both in defence but also in global challenges in the 21st century, like climate change, we are seeing more and more that we need to have interdisciplinary solutions to the problems we face. And that's what's so unique, having it all in one school here at UNSW Canberra. The Bachelor of Science degree then from UNSW Canberra offers you a diverse understanding of the physical universe, from chemistry and subatomic particles to the large-scale behaviours of oceans and planets, from computational techniques and data analysis to new understandings of human behaviour in our social technical age. I mean, even in those last 2, just bringing together that interdisciplinarity and then that frontier research, the amount of data we give off in our phones now, the amount of big data that's shaping decisions in institutions and governments, you need to be able to mine that. You need to be able to understand that. Further within that, with the increasing social technical interfaces changing the way people relate, changing how people think and feel and act, we need to have new understandings of human behaviour, both in the kind of human geographical sense that we do, but also the molecular chemical sense that we also do in chemistry. You get that in one place here. And I don't think anyone can disavow the fact that these are challenges that are unique to our times, and that's why this place is a good place to come and learn as you move on the next step after school. The school vision then actually underpins the points I've already been making. We aim to be recognised internationally as a cutting-edge research science school, uniquely delivering interdisciplinary solutions within the same school to both nationally specific and globally connected 21st century problems. Now in that, and this is significant here today, we absolutely underpin our education be making sure that we deliver research-led quality teaching to students. And significantly here, across a diverse portfolio of assessments. That's where that interdisciplinary comes into play. You will be numerate as well as literate here. You will be able to talk to scenario cases. You will do independent research pieces. You will work as groups. You will do presentations. You will go on field trips. You will go to sites. We will have you in labs doing experiments. We will make sure that that portfolio of assessment is a unique and innovative transferable skill that fits the needs elsewhere for that interdisciplinary solution to these global connected problems that I've already outlined. And then underneath this, and this is the bedrock of everything, it is that the school strives to be this global leader in science for equity, diversity and inclusion, fostering then the science skills for all. Because as I mentioned, there is so much untapped talent. And I think also here you get a unique cadet, you get a unique pedagogical space because you get a diverse range of ages. You actually get a more diverse range of students in the classrooms I teach here than the other places I've taught in before, both in the UK and the US. And I think that's something that certainly as a teacher is something that is a real privilege to do and makes for a much more vibrant classroom space. So let me go into then the offerings that we give. And obviously I'll list these through in a kind of quite quick and kind of perfunctory way just to give you a feel. But really this is the space for you to start to think about questions because then you can ask the people that can really answer them who are sitting on the front row when we get to the Q&A session. So first off, alphabetically, there's no hierarchy here, aviation. This will include topics across the 3 years of aviation technology, fundamentals of flight, aircraft systems, airport management and operations, air traffic management and aviation safety. In chemistry, you'll get the whole suite of chemical topics. It's not always the case in BSc courses elsewhere. You will be taught organic and or inorganic chemistry. You'll be taught biological chemistry, also supramolecular, and also explosives. We also are offering computational chemistry as well in behind that. So again, a full portfolio of chemistry in and across the different subdisciplines. Computational science, computational problem solving, getting you up to speed with coding before you go further in looking at programming, going into computational technology, data structure representation, securing networks. And then, of course, significantly more and more computer languages and algorithms. Again, you get the opportunity to marry that up with questions around ethics and the algorithm, one of the 21st century challenges, which, again, you're in a unique space to bring those differences together in a place like this. Geography, coastal geography, mapped here to Australia, Australia's needs, and looking precisely at areas of climate change and the impact on coasts. Cultural geography, again, the unique position of Australia to lead the world in addressing issues of colonialisation. Biogeography, social geography, environmental hazards, here I'm thinking around and explicitly look at with one of the leading international experts on extreme climate in and around environmental hazards of climate change. We also have, who works, again, this is a case of collaboration between geography and maths, one of the leading bushfire modelers in the world, working together to talk about the threats and the solutions and where we need to go next. Geography brings this together in a research-based course in the 3rd year, which also has a field school attached to it, international field school. This year, I think they go in 2 weeks to Singapore for a week. Each year, you'll have field school activities in geography in varying places, both locally in the 1st year and then within the state of New South Wales in the 2nd, both looking at physical and human geography. Next up is mathematics. We're looking at the foundations underpinning a lot of science in terms of algebra, calculus. Again, doing some of that deep dive into data analysis and with big data sets. Discrete mathematics, differential equations, mathematical modelling. Again, looking to apply those models, as I talked about, in terms of bushfire research. But also these models work within climate change. They work within oceanography. They work within physics and so on. And then finally, working again in the physics space, but looking at modelling a course on waves and fluids. So there's a nice way within the school to be able to make courses both different, but also compatible and actually allow for some kind of unique learning to take place. Then we have oceanography, topics here in ocean waves and modelling, Australian waters and the dynamics, and ocean circulation and mixing. This is slightly different from the other majors in that these courses only run in years 2 and 3, although we are this year for new intake giving first-year Navy students a course in oceanography and fundamentals of oceanography, which will be in their first year. Then finally, I think physics, in a way, really everything that underpins science is physics, and certainly in its applications to defence. We look at things around atomic and nuclear physics, again, atmospheric physics in meteorology, waves and electronic materials. I mean, here we have leading experts in future low-energy electronic technologies. This is one of the ways in which UNSW is a leader in this, in sustainable technologies, so that we can actually offer solutions to the fact that more and more we're using electricity at a much higher capacity than ever before, and that's not going anywhere soon, and it keeps on ramping up. We need to be able to find solutions, and that's part of what we do here. And again, you get that taught to you by the expert in that area. And then astrophysics, electromagnetism, and quantum physics too. And again, like many of the majors in science, we offer a research project in the third year as part of that. This then is how it all gets made up, whichever degree program you do. And I'll come back to this. This is a slide where it breaks it down in a kind of paint-by-numbers way, but hopefully as we get to the end of the next few slides, you'll see how it all maps out. So first off, obviously, the degree is 3 years. Now, to make up that degree over those 3 years, you need 144 units of credit. There's 6 units of credit per course. In each semester, and we have 2 semesters per year, there are 24 units of credit. And that means, and I'll come on to the next slides, you need to do 48 units of credit per year. The double major degree for each major. The double major means that they need to undertake 48 units of credit for each major across the 3 years. In years 2 and 3, you do 36 units of credit, meaning that in your first year you do 12, so you do 2 courses. And at the third year, there's a minimum of 18 units of credit required for each major. This then equates to 96 units of credits to fulfill the requirements of both those 2 majors that need to be up to 48. This will make sense as I run through the next few slides. Alongside that, you're also able to make up classes elsewhere outside of the science major, double major system. And there are 3 electives that are key, and you have a choice first off between Introduction to Strategic Studies or Strategic Management and Leadership. And then there's second choices between Law, Force and Legitimacy and Introduction to Military Ethics, clearly tailored to the unique context of UNSW Canberra with ADFA. Every student is required in the third year to undertake the Introduction to Cybersecurity and Policy and Operations. So then how does this work? If I take an example, we'll just go through the study load from year 1 to 3. In the first year, in the first semester, you have 4 courses. That makes up 24 units, so therefore in the second semester, it makes up the other, so that you total up to 48 units of credit. In each semester, depending on the combination, you'll be doing 3 to 4 science courses. So there are some combinations where, so for geography and aviation, for example, you don't get so much free choice as the others. You will be required to do mathematics and physics, as well as your aviation and geography. So you're pretty tied in. But for the others, you're able to do 1 or 2 arts business courses as an elective. So you can take something from business or English or history, Indonesian studies or politics. That's why there's some variability. Second year, it's 4 courses per semester, 24 units of credit, 48 in total. The significance is that in each major, you need to do 3 courses per year. So 18 units of credit in year 2 for 1 major, 18 units of credit in the other major in year 2. And then the other courses, the 2 other courses that get the extra 12 credits come from the general elective and then the free elective. In year 3, it's exactly the same, apart from, of course, there's the general elective, and then there's that prescribed elective of that Introduction to Cybersecurity, Policy and Operations. But it's the same deal with the third year, having 3 courses in each major. So how would this look if you were doing the physics maths as one combination example? In the first year, as I say, you need to do 2 courses in each, so 12 in physics, 12 in maths, and then you make the rest up in 24 free electives. That would be different, as I said, if you're doing aviation and geography, because you would have to do physics and maths. The second year, 18 and 18, again, the third year in the majors, and then you have a different way of making up the other 12, so 6 and 6 free electives in general, and then 6 and 6 with that prescribed elective of cyber. Each major, again, to reiterate, at the end of the day, is 48 units of credit. And that's how it pans in the second year. That's where they're made up in the third year. Overall, at the end of it, to get a BSc, to graduate with a degree in science, you have to have at least 96 units of credit, which are covered off by the 2 majors. But equally, you could be making up in some combinations with electives from other science courses, so that you may have up to 126 units of credit in science courses. The key thing then is about what are the recommended double majors. And some work better than others, and again, you can ask questions of the officer cadets here, which for them do make the better majors. But what I would say here is the fundamental thing is do the thing that you're passionate about, because then you're halfway there. And you are able to do that. Also, Defence doesn't prescribe certain double majors for certain forces. They open that out. They're looking for a more rounded graduate from us to go forward to be potential leaders in the Defence Force. And having that all-round ability is what's key, not super getting up to speed in a targeted way. The period of being at university, those 3 years, can be the best years of your life, and that diversity of interest is nurtured, not constrained. And that's something that is fundamental to what we do. Likewise, because of the small class sizes, that really good student-staff ratio, we are able to actually offer this combination of double majors, not being constrained by timetabling. Elsewhere, with big classes, you have only certain numbers of rooms that can fit that number, and therefore that constrains timetable. We have very small classes in years 2 and 3, and that means we can actually offer more options because we don't have the timetabling constraint. It is a very unique situation. I've been in other places, never seen this ability to offer this range. What are the entry requirements? And this is then the last slide. The 2023 undergraduate entry requirement, indicative, it's not definite, for Bachelor of Science at UNSW Canberra. 2 basic requirements, the ATAR of 75, and if you want to be part of the CDF requirement, that's 95. The CDF is a program that acknowledges those high-performing students. It avails them of a tick in their CV, but it also gives them the opportunity to do a very specific research project and work in closer step with some of the researchers here at UNSW Canberra. One thing I'll comment on about, and I'll go back to a point I made earlier about the ATAR and the students here. I mean, I've taught in University of Bristol, Johns Hopkins in the US. What I see here is the very best, that the top is the same, the standard is high. The really unique thing is just having that range of student here in the classroom that I don't see elsewhere. And that's fantastic, because you can do so much in this intense space with that ratio in a short space of time with that diversity of student body in the room. And that makes this place a real privilege to teach in and be a part of. I think that moves me on to Q&A. And I'll invite up the officer cadets to introduce themselves to you and also to say which double major they do and what year they're in, and hopefully you can all guess the force they're in by their uniform. I'll ask them to do that to the mic because people online will only hear and see them when they're in front, sitting here. And when we open to Q&A, I will have to relay your question to the online audience, so bear with us in that format. Without further ado, let's come up. We're here if you start, and then one by one introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Mitchum Jade Ferguson, and I'm a third year. I'm studying science, doing oceanography and geography. Those are my 2 double majors.
Hi, I'm Officer Cadet Mihir Marate. I'm in second year and I'm doing a Bachelor of Science majoring in Maths and Aviation.
Hey everyone, my name's Officer Cadet Duff, so I'm in third year. My double major for science is aviation and chemistry.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, I'm third year and my double major is aviation and chemistry.
Great, thank you. So it's now ready to open it up to any questions. Who's going to be... Oh, okay, thank you.
Could you describe, let's say, a student would like to make a choice between tech aeronautic and science aviation? Can you describe the difference and your perspective on that?
So the question is, can we describe the difference between a choice between someone wanting to take tech aviation or aeronautics or aviation and science? Does anyone?
Yeah, just have a quick go. So I guess the main comparison between looking at studying aviation with a Bachelor of Science and comparing it with BTEC aviation, we share actually a lot of subjects that you saw up on the PowerPoint slide, but BTEC Aero sort of shares a few more with sort of the engineering side and the STEM side. They share a few subjects with sort of aeronautical engineers, but we do share a lot in common. There's a bit more workload involved with BTEC, but that's about as far as I can sort of comment on it.
So I suppose the thing with BTEC is that's essentially the first 3 years of an engineering degree, whereas with the science degree you don't have that intense workload. So like for me at the moment I've got about 14 contact hours, whereas engineers will have like over 20 contact hours. And so yeah, like Fletch was saying, we do have similar subjects, but there's degrees just more intense, I think.
And just a quick one, while people, if you come in late, there are seats. Please just come down. Don't sit on stairs. I'll just follow up one more because, as I mentioned, there are electives then for the aviation to do through science. You are doing the physics and maths. You're doing more fundamentals in science, which actually gives you a little bit more malleability going forwards compared to doing the engineering aeronautic degree. But you can end up, as I say, the Air Force does not require either to be in the Air Force. So it depends on how much malleability you want in what you want to be doing next. And science, if you like, offers a little bit more flexibility. But if you're wanting to do the aeronautic engineer, that's what you've got your heart set on, that's the way to go. There's a question there.
Just about your aviation, I see you've got Air Force and Army. So can you describe the different aviation streams that each of you will follow? And does that actually also involve pilot training as part of your science degree?
So the question was about the different forces behind me, the difference between aviation and Army and the students doing aviation, and whether there's any difference. And then is there any, how does that relate to the opportunities to do piloting during the 3 years?
So in terms of what you study in university, there's no difference. You do the exact same subjects. The only difference will be after you leave ADFA. The Army people will go on to RMC, and then if they get into helicopter pilot, they'll do rotary wing flying, whereas the Air Force will go and do fixed wing flying. But in terms of just ADFA, you don't have any difference in what you study. Yeah.
There's also quite a few societies, and I think there's an Air Force piloting society that gives you options to get involved a little bit more than, obviously they don't do the piloting until they finish and get the training. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah. Question at the back. Yeah. So the question is about what subjects should Year 10 students be looking to select for Year 11 and 12 if they want to be coming in to do the Bachelor of Science here with us. So the number one requirement, which is the assumed knowledge for all BSc, is mathematics, and that's mathematical methods that would be advanced, mathematics advanced in New South Wales, but all the other states it'll be mathematical methods. Senior mathematics, so things at the next level like senior mathematics or specialist mathematics, mathematics extension 1, 2 in terms of New South Wales, they're highly desirable, but they're not required. The other area would be assumed knowledge for those wanting to go into physics, aviation or oceanography, would be to do physics. And so really it's fundamentally for all BSc, it's mathematics, but for aviation, oceanography and physics, it's also to do physics. One thing I will say that, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we benchmark students as they come in, because obviously they're coming in from very different states. We make sure, especially in maths and physics, that we offer a lot of extra classes, support tutorials. And we've seen an issue this year, which is why I mentioned the importance of learning coding in computational science. So the computational problem solving. We also provided additional support classes. So our aim is to get students up to that level at the end of the first year. And it is differential, probably because of the different requirements in the different states, and also just general knowledge, and people learn at different paces and different speeds. And that's what we do. You know, we really do put a lot of resource and care into getting those standards up, so that everybody can be in the space we all want them to be, which is, you know, getting the basics right so that they can enjoy their courses and do what they're passionate about, rather than being held back. Do you want to follow up with any of that, or was I covered off?
Oh.
Great.
I can just comment on like the the physics and math like support classes. So I came from Queensland, we did OP, and it was a little bit different to the ATAR system, and it was just like considered that Queensland people, because of the curriculum difference, they would be a little bit behind the New South Wales people. So although I did like the benchmarking and I did pretty well, I still went to those classes and they were really helpful. They helped me like make sure that I was at the same level going into my degree, and I was able to pass all my physics and math subjects probably because of that support classes and support tutorials. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Question there. Yep.
General question for all of you. What would you say your timetable looks like on top of training and your double majors?
So the question is to the officer cadets behind me, what is their timetable like in terms of the PT and officer training alongside the science double majors?
So to sort of address that with the military training that we receive, it's in a 2-hour block in the morning from 8 to 10, and that normally doesn't change. And then all of our university academics start post that at 10 a.m. And then our timetable as science students are relatively flexible. There's a lot of options for classes. And it sort of ranges. I have probably a 14-hour contact week, and that changes whether I've got labs or tutes running that week. So for chemistry, we have labs that run on and off alternatively on the week. So we'll have like maybe a 4-hour lab one week, have the next week off from that lab, and then resume the following week. But they're usually relatively flexible compared to other degrees, especially with being able to choose your subjects. So you can sort of structure your timetable to sort of fit into your other needs, whether you've got outside of academics or your own interests in sports like that. So.
Any other questions? Yep.
The choice of electives, can that come from any faculty? So something you have an interest in economics, which is something from the business side of things to add to your science degree?
So the question is about the electives and whether or not they can choose courses from any other faculty or schools. You can't choose from another faculty, say Kensington, but the schools up here you can. And it's in the first year. You can choose 1 or 2 courses depending on your double major, courses from business, for example, so you could cover off the economics. In fact, that would be the kind of course you would do. And then there's also English, history, politics, international relations. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Any other questions? Question at the back, yeah.
Yeah. Apologies if you already mentioned this, but you said the minimum requirement, ATAR requirement, is 75. Do you have to have math methods, or just basic math, or is it just about 75 pass rate?
So to come into do a BSc in science, you do need to have the sort of assumed knowledge in mathematical methods, or what's called Mathematics Advanced in New South Wales. Yeah. Question there.
Kind of just following on, is there any way to like get in, or would it be too far behind? So you just do basic maths and or physics. Can you do too much to kind of still come in, or would you be able to like just make up classes?
Yeah.
Get back up to standard?
Yeah, so I appreciate I didn't repeat the question from the one before. The one before was around the ATAR score and whether or not you needed to have mathematical methods, and the answer was yes, you did to get to do BSc entry. The follow-up question here is around if your standard was kind of low in those classes, would it still be possible to come over? Is that right? And do.
So is it straight up impossible if you didn't do the like maths methods, but you just did basic maths, or you didn't do physics?
If you really need to do the mathematical method, so basics, you need to do more than basic maths. The physics, it depends on the degree. If you're wanting to come here to do aviation, physics and oceanography, you would have to do physics. Do you want to comment on that at all? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so me personally, I didn't do physics in year 12, and I'm an aviation major. So, like, I wouldn't say it's impossible. It was a bit hard, like, it was pretty challenging for me in first year to catch up. But, like, I wouldn't say it's impossible. You just have to put in a bit more effort into that physics class to, like, get back up with everyone else.
I had a friend who was in a similar situation. So she didn't do physics, and then she picked a physics major. And so she failed her first class, but was able to catch up. And with those support classes that I was talking about before, she did fail one class, she just caught up in summer school, or like there's options as well to catch up in case you do. Obviously, if you go to all your classes and you work really hard and you're aware of this, if you haven't done that subject, if you work really hard, you'll be able to get through it.
Great, thank you. That shows actually we do really try to be flexible when we have students in here to make it work for them, because that's not the norm, but I know of those cases actually. Any other questions? Yep, question at the back.
Just to clarify on those same points, you both gave examples where you didn't do physics, but that you still were successful in getting into science. So is physics and math a requirement for entry, or is it just a requirement of knowledge to be able to do something?
So the question again is around the courses that needed to come in to do the BSc in science, and whether or not maths and physics are required, or it's just about having the assumed knowledge in those areas. Again, 99 times out of 100, we need the maths. We look for the maths as a requirement, that there's assumed knowledge for all BSc in mathematical methods and mathematics advanced. Where there can be changes that students come here and they might decide, and this can happen in the first semester, that they want to swap their degrees. They find that they don't like one course, or they find one course harder, it wasn't what they're expecting, and that's where that kind of shifting can move across. The physics, as I say, is again, it's assumed knowledge for physics, aviation and oceanography. There is more flexibility with physics than there is maths. Any other questions? If there's no more questions, I'll close the session off. I'll remind those that are here, do come forward and speak to the officer cadets behind me. You've got an opportunity to ask further questions. Also, if you haven't had time to go over to the Adams Auditorium and go upstairs in the foyer, because then you'll have the discipline coordinators and staff teaching those courses, and they can give you more details around some of those requirements for entry. If not, thank you very much for your questions, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here and safe journey back home.